Today, guys, is a little bit of a different video. I want to have a conversation with you guys. So I'm really curious to know what you think and let me know in the comment section down below. And from the title, you guys know we're going to talk about the Polestar 5 and if it is too expensive in my opinion. I went to the launch in Munich early September, like more than a month ago, and I was really hyped about the car. There was a beautiful event on the evening of the launch, and I also got to see the car a few days later at Polestar Space in Munich, and I was really hyped about the car, and I still think it is one of the most beautiful cars I've ever seen. I got to see it last week at the Oslo Motor Show, but unfortunately, I was sick that day and I had to leave the Oslo Motor Show because I was supposed to make a video for my Norwegian channel called El Bilkris. And if you want to, support me and you want to support my Norwegian channel, I'm going to link that down below. So if you're a Norwegian viewer, please go there and, subscribe to the channel because I do what I do here just in Norwegian. But today, a little bit of a rant, a little bit of a talk because I'm actually going on holiday tomorrow, my first holiday in many, many years, but I wanted to get this video out. And it will probably go up when I'm on holiday in Spain. And as this hype has died down, and I've gotten to see the car in a different spec. I got to see it briefly in black in Oslo and, sit on it for a little bit. And also I've been to China and seen, other electric cars. And my question is today, and I don't know if I have an answer because I'm just going into this blind, is the Polestar 5 too expensive? That is today's question. We're going to look at the configurator and so let's jump into it. So we have the Polestar 5 configurator here, UK website. And it is an expensive car. It is an expensive car. And I also have, a full tour of the Polestar 5. If you guys want to check that out, it is here on the channel. I'm also going to link that down below. And it's a beautiful car. It is probably the best looking electric car on sale in my opinion. It has a beautiful appointed interior, and also, compared to, like, for example, the Porsche Taycan and the Audi e-tron GT, it is quite a bit more roomy in the rear. The trunk on paper isn't that much bigger. Front cabin, you could argue, is about the same size, so it really goes to the rear seat capacity. Still, it's more like a 2+2 than a true 5-seater. And, though there's more knee room than, for example, the Taycan or the Audi e-tron GT, those two cars are basically the same car, you can't slide your feet under the front seat. There's a little bit of a lip there, it's a little bit of an angle, and if I'm not mistaken, in both the e-tron GT and the Taycan, you can slide your feet in underneath the front seat, so that means you don't have as much knee room, but your seating position is maybe more comfortable for longer trips. So let's go into the configurator. So, it's a big car. It's like 5 meters and 9 centimeters long. So it's more like a Panamera EV competitor, though that car doesn't exist yet, than a Taycan, at least when it comes to exterior dimensions, and maybe when it comes to interior dimensions. That is a little bit, up for debate. So the Polestar 5 starts at 89,500 pounds in the UK. So in Norway, it's going to be different. In Sweden, it's going to be different. In Germany and in the Netherlands and also in the US, it's going to be a little bit different. But we're going to stick to UK pricing. Most of you guys are from the UK and, the rest of you are from Europe. Some of you are from North America. But what you're getting with the Polestar 5 Launch Edition dual motor at 89,500 pounds is, dual electric motors. You're getting 737 brake horsepower, or about 750 PS. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.9 seconds, or 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, with a top speed of 250 kilometers an hour, electronically limited, or 155 miles an hour. And for most people, that spec is fast enough. I mean, that top speed is what you need for the German Autobahn, and also that acceleration number is pretty much, competitive. I mean, do you need quicker acceleration? You can. Then you have to go to the performance version, and this is where things get a little bit weird because it's fast, but it's not that fast. It's 3.1 seconds, 0 to 60, or 3.2 seconds, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. 880 85 PS or 871 brake horsepower, but you're going to lose range. So the range is 416 miles WLTP for, the dual motor. I think it's like 670 kilometers. And for the performance, it drops to 350 miles for about 580 kilometers, if I'm not mistaken. So quite a drop. And also the price hike, it's 105,000 pounds. So it is very, very expensive. And then you want to just pile on the options. And for example, you want to go for the matte paint, and then you want to go for the leather interior, and then you want to go for these beautiful, beautiful 22-inch performance wheels, which is how I would spec it. This spec is basically the spec they had at launch, the spec they have at Polestar Space in Munich, the spec they have at, also Motor Show, and I think also they just did, an electric car show in Denmark. This car is going to cost, let's see, change financing. Let's do other. So how do I just do purchasing? There, purchase plan? No. Private customer. I don't want to do any financing. I want to do... Where's the price? Total amount, 123,000 pounds. So it's about 150, 160,000 euros, or like 1.6, 1.7 million kroners, Norwegian kroners. So it is quite pricey. But you are getting, 106 kilowatt hours of usable battery capacity. You're getting an 800 volt architecture. You're getting, a 10 to 80% in 22 minutes charge time, and you're getting that performance. Though the top speed on the performance is still 250 kilometers an hour. So for me, it's like, do you want a car that's 0.7 seconds quicker for what is basically 25,000 pounds extra? I would do it to get these wheels because I think these wheels are just spectacular. I haven't seen the car with, any other wheels, but in my opinion, this is the best looking spec, and in person, it is stunning. It is beautiful. I think it is better looking than the Porsche Taycan. I think it is better looking than the Audi e-tron GT. And the Audi e-tron GT was, before this was launched, the best looking electric car in my opinion. So for you of those who are new, I had an e-tron GT back in 2021. I had 2 press cars on loan here on the channel. I fell in love with it. I went out and bought one. When I took delivery of mine, I drove it down to Munich, to the IAA in 2021. I drove it like, I don't know, 6,000 or 7,000 kilometers on the Autobahn. I've really gotten to, push that car to the limit. And it is one of the best driving cars, period. And then I took delivery of my Taycan 4 Cross Turismo about half a year later. Of course, I got rid of my e-tron GT, and that's the car I've owned since. I've had it for almost 4 years. In February, I've had it for 4 years. It's done 52,000 kilometers. And in my opinion, I think it is better than the e-tron GT, like sport-wise. The e-tron GT is a little bit more comfortable. So I have a lot of experience in the e-tron GT and also the Porsche Taycan, which are built on the same platform. The e-tron GT spawned from the Porsche Taycan project. I talked about this earlier. I met, the car who was project manager for the Porsche Taycan once that was, underway. And I've also driven, the new e-tron GT, the facelift with the hydraulic suspension, the RS Performance version. And I've also driven all variants of the Taycan. I've driven the Taycan Cross Turismo Turbo S, the new one, again, the facelifted version with the, hydraulic suspension with 952 horsepower. I drove that 1,100 or 1,200 kilometers not an hour, 1,200 kilometers on the Autobahn for a video with Porsche last year. So I have extensive experience in all of this car's main competitors. Maybe the person on YouTube with the most experience, like who does EV testing. I own the Taycan, I've owned the e-tron GT, and I've driven both variants, the post facelift and the pre facelift versions of both cars extensively. So I think I'm one of the right people to be critical about this car because I love Polestar. Like I had 2 Polestar 2 or 3 Polestar 2 long-term loaners here on the channel a few years ago. I've driven all of the Polestars extensively, the 2, the 3, the 4, and I can't wait to drive this. And this is a car I may want to, replace my Taycan cross Turismo with. And guys, I do apologize. This video is more of a rant, more of a talk, so there's not going to be fancy B-roll and editing here, because I just wanted to, before test driving this car, just to, gather my thoughts and to hear what you guys think. Because, I sat on the configurator a lot of times looking at this car, and it is a beautiful car. I mean, just look at it. And in person, it's more beautiful than it is in photos. It's such a stunning piece of kit. But there are two things. First off, the interior. Let's see if we can get some interior photos here. The interior. Why can't we outdoor 360? Where's the interior? Come on. There we go. So there we go. So here's the interior. Okay, we have to scroll down there. So the interior, it is beautifully appointed. It has beautiful leather. The seats are custom Recaro seats. The front and rear seat. It's a beautiful interior. But when I've gotten to, get a little away from the launch, the hype, all of that, I have realized that there are quite a few flaws with its interior. So all of the glossy black plastics, pretty nasty. I'm not a huge fan. Also, the steering wheel, not bespoke. This is the same steering wheel we have in the Polestar 3, which is half the price almost, right? Especially if you go for, the top spec one, it's not half the price, but it's a lot cheaper. And also the same infotainment system screen, the same door card designs, the same dashboard design. So this is, you could argue that this Polestar 5 is almost like a Polestar 3 sedan on a different platform, a bespoke platform, but it doesn't have air suspension. So there's no, adjusting the ride height, and we don't know how this will drive, how this will ride. Will it be as good as the e-tron GT on air suspension? Will it be as good as the Porsche Taycan on air suspension? I don't know. Maybe. I think, Polestar 3 with air suspension is darn good, and it is better than the Macan on air suspension, the new one. But this doesn't have air suspension, so it's going to be hard to judge it now. But if it is, and even if it is a little bit better, like the Polestar 3 is compared to the Macan, the e-tron GT and the Porsche Taycan can be optioned with the hydraulic suspension, and that is just magic. That suspension is amazing. I mean, it is comfortable like an S-Class, but also maintains body control like at VMAX at 260 kilometers an hour, which is the top speed I drove the Turbo S Cross Turismo at. It's so stable in the turns, in the twists, on the Autobahn. It is magic, that suspension, and I don't think this is going to be as good as that. So already, and again, we don't know, but is it going to be as good as a Porsche Taycan with the magic hydraulic suspension? I'm not sure. It may be, but even if it is, the interior, it's not distinct enough in my opinion. It is a little bit nicer than the Polestar 3, which is a nice interior, but there's lacking in customizability. I mean, there are two black colors, or one black, two black? Charcoal accents and zinc accents. What are the differences there? They're basically two different leather color options for the interior. Black and, zinc or gray. I've bought, a few cars at 100,000, 120,000 euros plus. And I can tell you guys from my experience buying expensive cars, and, I think I'm the target group. Like, I'm an adult. I'm 40 years old, and I like to spend money on cars like this, right? So I think I'm within the group who buys this car. And again, I have a Taycan. I've had an e-tron GT. So I think I fit within the target group here, and I can tell you guys that I want more options, color options, detail options, and just a little bit too little, or there's no customization here. One of the fun things with my e-tron, not my e-tron GT, my Porsche Taycan, was being able to customize it. What color do you want on the stitching? What color do you want on, the seat belts? What color do you want on the chrono clock? Do you want, the Porsche crest on the headrest? Do you want, different materials here and there? You can do that in a Porsche. And of course, you can make a Porsche very expensive, but this is as expensive as a Porsche. I mean, the performance version here is as expensive as a Taycan 4S, which is a serious piece of kit, which you can get, with rear steer. You can get it, with that active hydraulic suspension. You can get a lot of trickery with that Porsche that just doesn't, which just isn't available here. And then you have the e-tron GT, which is a little bit cheaper, and we're gonna get into that because I was specking, if you go into the dual motor version, you're not gonna get, those beautiful performance 22-inch wheels. These wheels are a little bit boring, but let's see, you can get these wheels. Or these wheels, the blade wheels, which are kind of a little bit reminiscent of the Mission E wheels from Porsche. Let's see if the configurator is going to update. No? It's not? Okay, let's see if we can do it now. So this is a pretty cool spec, right? Again, I don't think this looks as nice as with, the 22-inch performance wheels, but, I'm going to keep my reservation until I see it in person. Let's just see this is, still as good looking. The car we have here, let's go to the pricing. Again, this is so annoying that Polestar don't just give you the freaking price of the car. Change financing. So this is 108,600 pounds, right? Or when I went to the Norwegian configurator, it was like 1.4, 1.5 million. Let's go to Audi, because this is a car that I didn't know that Audi had launched. This is the e-tron GT, the facelifted version, but the car launched with the facelift as an S e-tron GT and as an RS e-tron GT. There's now a non-S e-tron GT. And when you go into this car, this does a little bit slower, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. It's 4.2 seconds versus 3.9. That's 0.3 seconds. This has a top speed of 245 kilometers an hour. So this is basically, the same performance as the e-tron GT I had, which did it in like 4.1 seconds and 245 kilometers. And this does faster charging. So this does, 18 minutes from 10 to 80%. A little bit lower peak speed, 320 kilowatts. And it does have, a smaller battery, 97 kilowatt hours usable versus 106 kilowatt hours usable. But the range, at least WLTP, is pretty much the same. And in my testing, I've tested almost 200 cars here on the channel, in my standardized range test. And the cars that, get, the most or the closest to their WLTP ratings is the e-tron GT and the Porsche Taycan. My e-tron GT, my personal vehicle, I had a few years ago, achieved like 80% of its WLTP rating, 82% almost, I think, of its WLTP rating at 120 kilometers an hour or 75 miles an hour. And that is much more than every other car. I think on average, cars in summer get somewhere between 60 and maybe low 70% of their WLTP rating. So this car getting, that range compared to the Polestar 5 is very, very believable. But take a look at this. And again, this is going to have a little bit smaller back seat, but you can the performance is basically the same, right? If you want more performance, you can go up to the S version. You can even go to the RS version, which is just going to blow that Polestar out of the water. It's a lot that car's going to be a lot faster. So let's just, choose white, as we're going to choose white. And then, okay, we only have, so for the configurator in the UK, there's a little bit limit when it comes to alloy wheels. In Norway and in Germany, you have more options. But let's go for the leather. Oh, it's actually very limited. Let's go for the technology package pro. Okay, then I think we can get let's see. I think we get the upgraded seats. Do we get the upgraded seats? Okay, that's just dumb in the UK. So in the UK, you can't get the pro seats. But okay, just imagine. Let's just go to, this is 100. This is 98,000 pounds. So this is 10,000 pounds cheaper, right? And this has air suspension. This charges as fast or even faster, 10 to 80%. Polestar, Audi is an established brand. This has an interior. It may not be as nice in all aspects but it is pretty darn nice. And also you have more physical buttons here. You have physical HVAC controls. This infotainment system, maybe not the most advanced, but it works. It has a good route planner, maybe not as good as the Polestar. So the thing here is that this is a proven vehicle, and this is a vehicle I like a lot, but it is 10,000 pounds cheaper. And I'm pretty sure you can go into an Audi dealer, you can get a discount on this. You could probably do that on a Polestar, but can you do it on a new Polestar 5? So this is my problem with the Polestar 5, that it should be, that spec should be the price. It should be cheaper than this. Yes, I know it is a Panamera EV competitor, but that car doesn't exist yet, and is only a competitor in the way that it has a bigger back seat. And my argument is that people buying, a fast electric car at 100,000 pounds, 120,000 euros, 1.5 million kroners, don't care too much about that back seat accommodation. So let's do something fun here. Let's go to the S version, build an S version, because this does 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.6 seconds, right? So same battery pack, you're gonna get more performance, but now you have the different options. But still limited. Why do you guys limit that in the UK? But here you can get the Technology Package Pro. The way you spec your cars here in the UK, why do they limit it? But this is, let's go. This is 114,000 pounds, right? And then you're gonna get air suspension. You're gonna get all. So it's spec the same way. You're gonna get that sound system, and you can also say that Barrett's and Wilkins sound system is probably going to be better than this. So the Polestar is going to be better in a lot of ways, but maybe not every way. But Polestar isn't an established brand, and that is my whole point. Is the used car prices of the Polestar 5, nobody knows, because Taycan used car prices in a lot of markets have plummeted. e-tron GT used car prices in a lot of markets have plummeted. I don't think it's going to be different for that Polestar 5. I don't think so. It's going to be a hard sell to buy a Polestar 5, even though I think it is the most beautiful car in the world. Buying one at 110,000 pounds, yeah, it's a hard sell for me. But again, if it drives better than the Taycan, if it drives better, than the e-tron GT, I may look dumb, filming this video, because it is very beautiful and also very special. One of my biggest complaints about owning a Taycan here in Norway, the Cross Turismo, is that they are a dime a dozen. There are so many. It's an expensive car, and it doesn't feel special. It didn't feel special when it came out because there were so many. And now, 4 or 5 years down the road, it most definitely doesn't feel special. And for me, purchasing a car like this, it has to feel special. But for me, it's a hard sell, because the version I want is with these wheels. But if I could buy those wheels and fit it to the non-performance, just the normal dual motor version, I think that's gonna be that's a really nice car. But is it nicer than the Taycan? Is it nicer than the e-tron GT? I'm not sure. I have to drive one. And also, will it have, more real world range, having a battery pack that is 9 kilowatt hours usable bigger? I hope so. But again, I'm not sure. And also the glossy black plastics and the interior just doesn't look special enough in photos. That e-tron GT interior, that is pretty nice. That is actually pretty special from behind the wheel, even 4 or 5 years down the road. That is a very special interior, and you have a really low and sporty driving position. I really love the e-tron GT, and I spec'd one now in Norway for 1.2 million kroners. I think I spec'd one here somewhere. There we go. Yeah, 1,225,000 kroners. This is the one I would choose. These wheels, white, and also this has the perforated leather. You can't have that in the UK. Why not? Bang & Olufsen sound system. And, this price, if I could get, 10% off that, if I could have it for like 1.150, and then we take a look at the, take a look at the Polestar. Let's see for Norway. And I'm not even getting the spec I want. Let's see. I want the white, and I want the zinc interior. And of course, Barrett's and Wilkins. I want the microspade steer roof. You know, I can't get these wheels, but I have to choose these wheels then, right? It's so much more expensive. That's my whole point. It's so much more. It's 220,000 kroners more expensive, and that is before you get any discounts. And that is a hard sell for me. It should be the same. At the same price, yes, it's a little bit quicker, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, but both cars are fast enough, like 3.9 or 4 point whatever, 4.2. I mean, does it really matter? I don't know, guys. That's the issue I have with the Polestar 5. So this has been a very long video, but I just wanted to have this rant with you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and next week, normal programming with the videos here on the channel. I have some really cool collabs coming up, some really cool comparisons. We're gonna do the Model Y long range all-wheel drive versus the Enyaq 85X Coupe versus the Xpeng G6 Performance. Yeah. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below. And for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.